As America's astronauts reach for the stars in longer and longer flights into space, they must learn to live and work as normally as possible in space. In this strange, weightless environment, one of the vital consumables man must carry with him, in addition to the air he breathes and the water he drinks, is food. It must be lightweight, nutritious, and palatable. Special diets and menus must be prepared. Eating in space has very few of the comforts of dining in your own home, as can be inferred from this experiment in a weightless condition. In the absence of gravity, food and drink must be kept in containers at all times and must be conveyed directly to the mouth, often by such devices as squeeze containers and tubes. Knives and forks are useless, since the slightest pressure can send an object flying around the spacecraft. In a spacecraft, every bit of space and weight must be conserved in order to carry as large a payload as possible. So the food taken along by astronauts must be compact and lightweight. Some food, such as desserts and sandwiches, are prepared in bite-sized portions so the astronaut can put the whole serving into his mouth. If he had to bite off pieces, crumbs might result that would float around the spacecraft cabin and get into instruments and other equipment. In the case of several small snacks, the individual bite-sized bits are coated to avoid crumbs. The coating itself is edible. The moisture present in the mouth is enough to enjoy such food in the normal manner. However, water must be added to reconstitute larger food servings, which are freeze-dried, that is, frozen and dehydrated by a process that takes water out of the food without changing it otherwise. First, the food is frozen, then placed in a chamber under high vacuum where it is dehydrated. This is the way the process works with a piece of meat. The water in the meat is frozen into tiny ice crystals. Inside the vacuum chamber, a small amount of heat is applied through the tray holding the food. The frozen crystals pass directly into vapor by a process called sublimation. The taste and structure of solid foods remain the same. Both solids and liquids remain frozen, but weigh much less with their water removed. Other foods are simply compressed and can be served as a single cube to save space. Packaging of all space foods is also important. For example, even though a meal is freeze-dried, it can still crumble and make problems for the astronaut. So it is placed in a transparent bag made airtight and filled with nitrogen gas to prevent spoilage. 2 pounds of meat can be reduced in weight to 8 ounces, but the size and flavor of the food is retained. To make it edible again, the astronaut will pump water into the bag through a nozzle on one end. 2 ounces of water are enough to reconstitute meals such as pot roast of beef or chicken and gravy. Then the astronaut will knead the bag gently to mix the water into the food. He will use the nozzle again to transfer the food to his mouth. Once again, by learning how to handle food in space, man proves that he can adapt to this most unusual environment. Whether he is a member of the crew of a manned space station orbiting the Earth for several weeks, or is on his way to the moon or to other planets, he will eat well and nutritiously from the tasty choices offered on his Spaceflight menu.